about this. You don't want to follow his way because you're used to the Western modern way of dating. And maybe you were 1 in 10 or 1 in 100 that lucked out. Some of you say, well, Rabbi, I succeeded. Yeah, because Yahuwah's favor was with you. But you owe none of that credit to yourself. His favor, his hand was with you. See, the marriages of Shimshon were not about sex. They were not about cohabitation. They were about leading, judging, conquering, and being a shofet in Israel. Shimshon would marry and then marry again and then marry again, and we would see a pattern of multiple wives. This is what the church won't tell you. This is what they don't want you to see. But today you're going to see it. He would use captive enemy women, not for sex, but rather to use these foreign women as spies, to spy out the enemies, and to give Israel the victory and the vanquishing of their opponents and of their foes. His parents didn't understand, did they? His parents said, hey, isn't there a wife, isn't there an Isha in Israel? Why you got to take an Isha from the daughters of the Plishtim? Now don't tell me that you're going to go into the world and look for Moabite women and marry them. You're not a judge. We're not in the times of the judges. You're not called to be a judge in Israel. We're called to be disciples, and we cannot be unequally yoked with unbelievers. But in his day, he was a judge, because in his day, every man did that which was right in his own eyes, and they needed leadership, they needed victory, they needed headship, they needed authority, they needed priesthood, and they needed to be led by a man who was led by the Ruach. And listen, now listen, in those days, I'm talking to you now, listen, in those days, there was no CIA. There was no KGB. And so the wisdom of Yahuwah was to set up a spy agency by Shimshon's wives, which he would seek through Shittah, because he knew exactly which nations needed to be defeated, Governor. So if he needed to defeat the Philistines, what kind of woman would he seek? If he needed to defeat another nation, what kind of woman would he seek?
A wife from that nation.
A wife from one of those nations. You're not going to get this in the church, are you? Because they're not capable of teaching this to you. Now watch this. So by taking foreign wives not for lust and for sex, but as the means by which he can spy out his enemies, he became a practitioner as a judge of taking plural wives from Yahuwah, because we know Yahuwah is the author of what? Shidduchin, or prearranged marriages. Because look how he does it. Even though most do not understand about Shittah, and how they come about and why they're ordained to come about. Hello? That's why they don't accept you when you try to engage in a shittah. Because they think you're being controlled or manipulated, or you've lost your mind, or you've given over your will power to someone else to manipulate and to control you. So they don't understand the purpose of shittah, which is to build Israel, but you can't build Israel. You can't build Israel if you don't save Israel. Can I get a witness? If Israel is destroyed and wiped out by their enemies in a day when all Israel was doing that which was right in their own eyes, there would be no Israel to save and to redeem. There'd be no need for Yeshua to come and redeem both houses of Israel. Can I get a witness?
Amen.
So they had to be preserved. The job of the great Samson was not his muscles or his blonde hair and blue eyes, which didn't exist, except in the pigment of the imaginations of the European aristocratic painters of the Renaissance.
Right.
But Israel had to be preserved through strength, and the only way to get strength was to set up an Israelite spying agency and service whereby Samson and the judges of Israel would know everything going on in all the other nations around Israel, so that Israel can survive and Israel can be preserved for the coming Mashiach. And Yahuwah saved Israel in the time of Shimshon, in the time of Samson, through multiple wives. But worse than that, ladies, those of you who still cringe at the idea of multiple wives, thinking Yahuwah is out of his mind, and thinking that it's all about sex for the man, it was through this calling that Israel was saved in the time of Shimshon. Can I get a witness?
Amen.
How come y'all so quiet on me today? In the time of Shimshon, they were saved through this scheming from the mind and the wisdom of Yahuwah for Israel, toward Israel's enemies. Look at verse 5. Yeah. Then Shimshon went down, but remember, go back to verse 3. He said, we got to defeat the Philistines. How am I going to defeat the Philistines? Mom, Abba, Ima, go get me this woman. She's going to cough up a lot of information that we need to overcome and to vanquish our enemies. Are you with me?
Yeah. Amen.
You won't get this, Benjamin, in the Sunday system because they don't have a clue. Absolutely. They think anybody that engages in this kind of behavior, A, shittach, B, patriarchal living, is deceived or brainwashed or in a cult. And their last name is Hawkins. That doesn't apply here, brothers and sisters. This is a giant. This is a judge. This is a shofet in Israel. Verse 5. So, go back to verse 4. But his Abba and his Ima did not know it was from Yahuwah. Now, I don't want you to miss that. Rivka, please keep her in the den, honey. Just keep her in the den. It'd be easier for me and for you. And you can still listen. Look at verse 4. Look at verse 4. His Abba and his Ima did not know what Shimshon knew. What did Shimshon know? That the taking of a foreign wife was not of the flesh and was not for sex. It was from Yahuwah. Are you getting this? Amen. Is that what it says in verse 4? Yes. Yes. Yeah. They didn't understand shittah. They didn't understand that it was not for Samson's personal gratification of his flesh, but as a man of the Ruach, as a man blessed by Yahuwah, the taking of foreign wives in this dispensation of the time of the judges was for the preservation of Israel and the leading of Shimshon right into the lap of Delilah. You listen to me now, was all from the Ruach HaKodesh. They didn't teach me this stuff when I was growing up. They didn't teach me this stuff when I was growing up in the Baptist church. You can't teach this stuff unless you know this stuff. And you don't see it from man or of men, but by a revelation of the Mashiach Yeshua.
Amen. Amen.
Uh-oh. Let's continue. Let's continue. So he sought an occasion against the Plishtim. Who is he? Shimshon sought a victory or an opening in his military campaign against the Plishtim. Amen? Chris, will you be so kind, please? For at that time, the Plishtim had dominion over Israel. Do you think Yahuwah was concerned about Shimshon's sex life? No. No. You think this was about sex? Huh? No. What was this about? The dominion of the Plishtim. So Yahuwah found by the Ruach HaKodesh a spy in the camp of the Plishtim and brought her into Samson's life, Shimshon's life, so that Israel can have dominion over the nations. Can I get a witness?
Amen.
I said, can I get a witness?
Amen.
Again, this message, Shimshon and his victories. His victories. Then Shimshon went down, thank you. At that time, why did Yahuwah allow this? Why did his Abba and his Ima not know this was from Yahuwah? Because, listen, the Plishtim had what? Dominion over Israel. Was that Yahuwah's will? No. Yahuwah said, no, in the Torah, you're the head, not the tail. You shall be the lender and not the borrower. For the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the righteous. You are my Yeshurun. You are my cute little wife, my little baby, the target and the desire of my affection, you little Yeshurun.
Amen. Amen.
Don't wax fat. Don't wax cold. Don't wax double-minded. There are times Yahuwah's ways are not our ways. There are times Yahuwah's mind is not our mind. Even as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are his ways higher